we're happy to have Brandy Worthy with us today. She is our speaker. I'll let her talk about herself, but she has her own behavior business called Behavioral Intervention that she has had for many years. So Brandy, thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Thank you, Jenny. As she mentioned, I have my own behavioral intervention company called Behavioral Intervention Services. I'm a BCBA, have worked with many families and school systems locally and actually around the United States for many years. I think I started doing this in 1996. So it's been quite a while. And have 2 children of my own, been married for 25 years, and just like everybody else, I'm adjusting to this new, I think, normalcy. I'm not certain what to call it, but definitely doing some adjusting. And this, when I was asked to do this topic, kind of the scheduling and manageable schedules and manageable behaviors, it really worked for me as well, because my husband's now working from home and the children are here all the time. And so we'd already kind of done some of this scheduling. But then when I dug deeper into it for this presentation, it really made me think about it even more and how I could maybe tweak it a little bit more to fit us better and to even help with some others, because like all of us, I think we're asking our friends and family, especially friends that are in the same boat, how are you doing this? And that's what I've found, some things that I could share with others as well. So when thinking about scheduling, the world runs on a schedule. Everything works on a schedule. There's either doctor's appointments or a career or social gatherings. Everything is kind of schedule based, even if we don't realize it. We set an alarm clock to get up at a certain time. We know we need to have our teeth brushed at a certain time. And so schedules help people understand what they are to do, when they are to do it. And sometimes you can have built in there like the accuracy of what you're doing as well. And sometimes that's very helpful for children to know when they've done it from the beginning to the end. So that kind of gets into the complexity of it, which was the first thing that I had put on the handouts, was the complexity of the schedule depends on the individual, the expectations of the individual, and the lifestyle that that individual wishes to maintain. Some people don't like schedules. They don't like being confined to a time. And so if you put on there 7:45 to 7:50 brush teeth, that automatically can sometimes invoke some anxiety. Whereas it may just be a block of time, or sometimes especially with individuals with autism that do better with pictures that may not read, or a picture of a clock, if you just have a time there that they at least need to start, and then a picture of the next thing they need to move on to, instead of setting a block of time. Because what if they're not finished in that block of time? And then they've already kind of fallen into this, oh my goodness, I didn't finish. And so they don't get their completion, maybe, reward of doing that. And it's easier to maybe have just pictures of the actual items that should be happening instead of the time as well. And if I do use time, I like to just use the start time, not necessarily start and end. Because sometimes it takes us longer to do things than others. Some days I brush my teeth a lot longer than I do others, even though my toothbrush has a timer on it. I just get distracted, and distractions happen. So back to the handouts. When discussing individuals with autism and the need for a schedule, there are a few questions to consider, such as, why is the schedule needed? And it may be needed for an individual, for that individual to keep up with things. It could be because the family needs help keeping up with things of the family. You can have different schedules of one for an individual, and then even within our own phones, if everyone has a phone, you can actually set up a family calendar, and then you can have separate calendars within there. Sometimes they're set up for appointments. Sometimes schedules are used for reminders for medications, or even reminders of when to take restroom breaks, stretch breaks, exercise breaks. Why is it needed? And for me, a schedule is needed to remind me of all those things and to hold me accountable, because I'm the first one in my house that will forget that I need to exercise. And if I don't put it on there, then it won't happen. Same with children. Sometimes we get on a roll and we think, oh, they're doing great with this activity and this task. Let's do another one, and let's do another one, and let's do another one. And you dig yourself a hole, and then you lose their attention, and you've missed your opportunity to end on a great note and take that break that you should have had scheduled in and actually have taken, rather than to have continued on. And that's something that's very common to do when you're on a roll is just keep on going. Where it's better to take that stretch break, that exercise break, walk around the house, whatever it may be, but to go ahead and take that break. In what setting will the schedule be utilized? That could be school, home, community, could be a job, could be church activities. It might be even that you have a different schedule if they are to be with a babysitter or a child care provider or even grandparents or other family members. You probably can't expect people to follow the same schedule with an individual with special needs that they follow with you as when they go somewhere else. And so you often have to adjust that. And sometimes it means that it's maybe not as strenuous. It's a little watered down, so to speak, so that it's easier for everyone to manage. Who teaches those individuals to follow that schedule, again, depends on that setting. Will it be the parents? Will it be school staff? Will it be a job coach? Will it be a family member? Will it be a sibling? And sometimes it is the sibling if they're going different places with them. And not that you always want to put that responsibility on the sibling. However, they can be the one to help at times. Who's going to follow through to ensure the schedule is followed? That's pretty much the same people as we've mentioned above. Sometimes it might be, if the individual was the teaching individual of how to follow, it might have been the teacher, the classroom teacher, whereas those to help ensure the follow through might be a classroom aide. And that's okay too. It might be someone a little different, but in the same setting. How do you know if it's effective? Well, my question is it working? Are you getting the things done that are on the schedule? And is it not adding stress or frustration for that particular individual? I know with me, when I set up a schedule for myself or my children that is too meaty, it has too much information in it, and we're trying to check all the boxes, I feel myself getting anxious, and then I see it in them. And the same with when I'm working with children in the school system or in home settings, we have to really look at how that particular person functions. And will they be able to do these 5 things in this 2-hour time span? Or do we need to break it down even more? And it's effective if they're not frustrated and it's working. So you're getting through it throughout the day, completing everything on it, and everybody still is, for the most part, happy about it. Why the routines are needed? Well, routines are kind of the bedrock of our daily life. For everyone, they ensure a pattern for a certain time period. For individuals with autism, consistency is the key to success. And so why should you create a consistent daily schedule? Well, you should create it and stick to it because it can help reduce stress, because it adds predictableness with that reducing stress. It prevents unwanted emotions and power struggles because you have a plan on paper that is plainly explained. It's not something that your mom, dad, teacher, or whoever is just making up as you go along. It's already right there. It establishes order and maybe some calm. Same as what I just said. Again, the plan is on paper. And it also, and sometimes with that, it reduces the amount of words that the adult or the person trying to help them learn the schedule has to say. Because often you can just walk right over the schedule or have it in front of you and just point to it. And just as a reminder, so that also you're building in that independence of using the schedule instead of you having to constantly remind them, check your schedule or what's next, to just show them. I even sometimes with the order of the way things are presented, once we've passed things, if it's not a schedule where you can remove the item that they've already completed, then I'll either mark through it or fold the paper over so that they're not even seeing that anymore, because that's a huge sense of completion and success. We all want to feel successful. It also encourages shared family activity. Making the schedule is just, making it together can be really good if that individual can understand that with you. And then you also, within that, you can put family time into the schedule, which I explain that more in just a few moments as well. It establishes and maintains consistency because nobody forgets what's next. Because I know something that I do with my own family and with everybody that I work with. If it's not written, I will forget. I will be like, oh, where were they supposed to go next? We're in art class. Where's he supposed to go? And thinking, what is he supposed to take with him? I don't know. And so that just eliminates all of that. It ensures that consistency. which makes everyone feel, again, more calm and less stressful. It also fosters cooperation, because when you work together on a schedule, you know that you have worked with that individual to come up with some things they actually enjoy doing, not things they're just kind of forced to do, or things that you made up just to maybe fill their empty time during the day. But hopefully it's things that they actually like to do. And that way, when you sit down to do the schedule again, they have a good experience with it and want to cooperate with you again. It builds that parent-child connection, because you can discuss options of what you're going to do. You can also discuss the task that the individual will do within the schedule, as well as the time limits on the task, if you're going to put time limits on there. And then you also can talk about breaks and what they'll do during the breaks, because that's just as important. A break for some might need to be just complete free time, where they get to run around the house if they want to, or run up and down the stairs. For others, and that's where a parent knows their child best, they may need kind of a structured break time, a choice of things they can do during break time. And when you're doing this, when you're working together on the schedule and you're talking about it or showing them pictures of choices, and you're building that connection, and they're getting some control of the choices as well. And it says parent-child, and then I said, shared family activity, because right now the parent is the one doing all of these activities. They may be getting some support from the teachers, but that parent in that home right now is the one that's making sure this happens, or trying to make sure it happens as best they can. It's not the school system at this moment. It also helps the children or the individuals take care of ownership of their own activities. If they have helped plan that schedule, then when they finish parts of it, they sense that accomplishment. And sometimes they can, if they've chosen the activities, then they are like, oh, I did that. And other times it might be that you have some type of system where, like I said earlier, they check it off, or they mark it off, or if it's a picture schedule, they remove that picture when they've completed the activity. And then that allows you a visual sight of completion as well. You see things dwindling. Just like if we all make a checklist of things we need to do, I've even had friends tell me, even if you got up in the morning and did something, it wasn't on your checklist, write it on there so you can mark it off. Because it's letting you know you did a lot today. You really did. You accomplished many more things than what you think you did. And that's a great way, especially with individuals that may not understand what all they're doing, and especially what all they're doing correctly. And I love to put in there all the things they've done correctly. Even if it wasn't on their schedule, I might say, I might even add on there, you painted and hung up your backpack without being asked today. And if they're receiving tokens, give them a token for that, or a smiley face for it, or whatever it is of their level, so that they understand that I'm noticing things they're doing even that are off the schedule, and that those things are just as important. And that last one's particularly important with the children with developmental progress and autism, because we are trying to get them to be independent. And if we allow them to take ownership of their own activities, then they're taking another step to being independent. And I had put a percentage in here. It says studies show that children with daily routines have a 47% increased likelihood of maintaining a strong social emotional health as they grow older, because they're learning to regulate their emotions and their social emotions, and all of that goes along with the schedule of being able to follow a schedule and kind of fit into their surroundings and their community. Okay, and also in saying that, children or everybody sometimes have different schedules for different days of the week. And that's something to think about too, because again, as a parent right now, they're home with you all the time, Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday, all day. And so the schedules may change based upon what needs to happen each day. And some parents are making sure they're getting out and hiking or biking or walking with their children. And so they're actually putting that into the schedule as well. And that's a good thing to do, and because it also helps them realize and keep making that connection of what day of the week it actually is. Because if they're not going to school, they sometimes lose that idea of it being Monday through Friday, and now this is Saturday, Sunday. I know already I have asked various people in my house, what day is it? Because I don't know. And if I'm not looking at a schedule or keeping up with a calendar, I am again asking what's next, what day is it? And by doing that, it teaches them to keep up with that type of schedule, to keep referring back to their schedule. So then you're, again, giving them that ownership. Also, it helps them to become more independent. And it's helpful for them to realize when they need a schedule and when they don't. And so a schedule is often more needed Monday through Friday than on a Saturday, Sunday. So again, it's teaching them ownership and almost a lifetime skill and a lifelong skill, because Monday through Friday is, for most everyone, your real goal-oriented time. And then Saturday, Sunday, you get to choose what you want to do for the most part. And by establishing that and trying to stay on that routine and reminding them of that, that gives them that ownership and that lesson for life. Okay, so my next topic was think outside the box. This is something that I've really been trying to do more so. And I love these suggestions on here, because it's instead of building a schedule on activities, which many people think, you know, math, reading, spelling, and I have to do activities, or I have to do, you know, cooking right now, or I have to make sure he knows how to put on his shoes. You know, instead of doing that, because often when you do that and it's that rigorous, you find yourself having to readjust the schedule quite often, because they lose interest, or thankfully they learn that skill. And now you're moving on and you have to readjust it. And so instead, you could try creating a schedule based on the kinds of family time that incorporates the basic building blocks. And if you notice, the first one says family connection time. So that could be, even in that family connection time, part of that could be that you're together coming up with that schedule, working on that schedule together. It could be that you have game night, you know, when parents are there or everybody's finally there together, that you're then able to do some game time. And game time could be board time, you know, a board game, or it could be dice. It could be going outside and making up a game. There are plenty of things right now online of ideas of how to get outside and do obstacle courses and draw on the side, you know, your driveway with chalk to get children active and also at the same time learning. And that's, as long as you're doing it with them, that's considered family connection time. Independent learning time. So see, up here it said kinds of family time. Well, family is blessed often when others have some independent learning time. And so that is helping the family as well. So those things might include things like work boxes or online learning even. Some children really do actually like worksheets because they can see a beginning and an end. Some do well with game type learning activities or apps for their academics. And, you know, it's a matter of, again, it goes back to that individual. And I wish I had put on here individualized independent learning time, because it really is individualized for everybody. But again, you can, even within your schedule, it could say independent learning time on a general schedule. And then for that week or that particular day, you could ask them, what of these 3 choices do you want to do today during independent learning time? You're still giving them some type of choice as well. And then the next one was semi-independent learning time. So this might be a time where they can do most of it by themselves, but you really need to help them learn part of it as well. And so it's not something you could walk away from when you think, okay, I need to go have a Zoom meeting with someone. You know, you couldn't walk away from them during this time, but you could let them begin it. And then, you know, you have about 5 minutes or maybe 2 minutes until you need to get back to make sure they're on track and continuing to do that. And the semi-independent learning time to me is like in schools when they're thinking, okay, I've taught him the beginning skill, but I need to be around to make sure he can complete the task. And that's kind of the idea behind that. Sometimes you wouldn't want to do a skill that your child doesn't know how to do, and then even step away from them, because then you're going to lead to frustration. And that's probably like everyone else, they're already feeling some frustration with the lack of normalcy or regular routine in life. Meal and snack time could be on there. And again, I wouldn't put, you know, peanut butter and jelly for lunch, or I wouldn't put, you know, fruit for snack. I would again put meal and snack time, or within the daily schedule at a certain, you know, after you've maybe had a picture of independent learning time and outside time, then it might say snack time. And again, when you get to snack time, then offer them a couple of choices. We have apples, oranges, you know, grapes today. Which one or which 2 would you like for snack? And then that's not limiting you so much to the schedule. And with some children, if you run out of one thing and that's what you put on the schedule and you didn't realize you were out, you've created a problem right there. because if you put bananas on there and suddenly you realize, wait, somebody else in the house ate the last 2 bananas, now I don't have them, there's going to be a little bit of a problem. So it's better not to make it as that specific so that you're not binding yourself to it. And you can't just easily run out to the store right now and get things because they might not even be there when you get there. Outdoor time. Outdoor time, again, I love to just get outdoor time instead of limiting what it is. Instead of saying trampoline time or go ride a bike or go swing, to again say outdoor time, but before you go outdoor, have some choices and let them pick from those. Some children still need those boundaries of what they'll choose from rather than getting outside and they just kind of wander aimlessly because they're not real sure what they should do or what is an option to do. Some also feel very overwhelmed because they know there's a trampoline, they could ride a bike, they could throw the ball, they could draw with chalk, they could swing on the tire swing, and there's too many choices. And I see that many times that when it's not limited a little bit, they don't know how to choose. And sometimes they'll just flutter around from one thing to the other or not anything at all. Quiet time is another thing to have on there. It doesn't say nap time because some don't nap, even though we may wish that everybody would nap. And right now, especially, I think we all want to nap during the day. But quiet time could be that they just get to sit with headphones on and listen to music, or they get to go to their room and listen to music in there. It's not necessarily quiet time for them to be quiet. It's a quiet time for somebody that's around them. It may be that they need quiet time, but it might be that they're giving you quiet time, but you're not specifying that. So it's, what would you like to do during quiet time? Would you like to have some music and listen to it with headphones in your room? Would you like to have music in your room by yourself? And it could be played loudly, but it's the door shut and it's quiet for us. So again, you're not trying to make it so specific that there's not some type of wiggle room there that you can't come up with different things. Okay, independent playtime. So playtime is different than obviously learning time. Some like to play with Legos, some like to play with cars, some like to play with balloons or leaves or whatever. That's their independent playtime. Now, again, just like the outdoor time and all the other time that I've said, offer them choices. Limit what they get to choose from. But those choices, just like with everything else, should change from day to day. You wouldn't offer them bananas, grapes, and oranges 7 days a week for snack time. I mean, I don't know that I would want any 3 of those all 7 days in a row. So just like with independent playtime, if you're offering them Legos and Xbox or whatever it is they like on a couple of days, then another day you might say, would you like Legos, cars, or some sidewalk chalk? Throw some different things in there. And I mean, to me, if there's a favorite that they like, I always try to leave that in there because this is their independent playtime. It's not for me to be directing what they're doing right then, or for any of us to be doing that. Screen time or technology time. Some families allow this, some don't. Some feel like there's too much of that already in their house. But for me, I like to put it in the schedule because it then shows them that it's coming, that it's there at some point. It also, all of these can be put in here more than once a day. This is not an example of a schedule at all. This is an example of ideas to put in your schedule. And nothing says that you can't go outside 6 times a day, or that you can have screen time 4 times a day. Your 4 times might be 30 minutes each time, or it might be 10 minutes each time. When I'm using screen time though, or pretty much anything like that I'm going to limit, I do like to use timers instead of me having to say when it's over. I like that inanimate object keeping up with time and then making a sound to indicate that the time is over. And then helping time. Helping time can be actually a lot of fun with many children. Some like to help cook. Some like to come up with what you're cooking. Some like to help plan the next vacation, which we're all dreaming of right now, is where all we can go. Cleaning, even though you may not think cleaning is fun, it can be. Turn on some music, or if I know some children that love counting. They like to skip count, and so make up something. While you're scrubbing the dishes or loading things into the dishwasher, skip count as you're doing it, or sing their silliest song they like while you're doing it. Children and other things, they can learn to do things outside too. They can learn to help mow. They can help weed. I have a student I used to work with loved to pull weeds. And I was like, well, of course, because you can see a beginning and an end. Once once, of course, they knew which was a weed and which wasn't, which is also, you know, up to everyone's own opinion. But we did have to teach everything with a bloom is not a weed. And then that gave a chance to teach something as well as what is a bloom, and it's something with color. But many people think, well, my child couldn't ever mow, or my child couldn't get out and help weed, or there's nothing outside they would like to do. I bet there is. I bet there really is. Some like to use the leaf blower, and especially those leaf blowers that are battery operated, they're quieter than the ones you plug in or that are gas powered, and they're not loud at all. But yet they can blow leaves around and put them kind of in a different place than where they are, which is the idea of a leaf blower anyway. So there are ways that they can help that are kind of productive as well as a little fun for them and learning. The other thing is the use of apps. So in the handouts that you received, I actually gave some examples of apps, but one of the reasons of use, or some of the reasons of using these apps, is because they're kind of an all-in-one tool that keep track of the task by checking them off and checking off completed items. They actually you can set it up to where it sends notifications through alarms, sounds, or vibrations. They provide visual countdown timers. So back to that timer that I mentioned, it's already on that, and it can be either visual or auditory or both. It can provide spoken text for people who have difficulty with reading. They help keep focus on the task at hand, again, because there's that timer. And then they kind of manage all of that in a game-like setting. And most children right now, most individuals, adults, everybody of all ages, like their phone, or they like the iPad. And so this is an app and an interactive way to have a schedule. And this might be the way that you start off with a schedule instead of a paper-based one, to get them more acclimated and accepting of the schedule. And then I listed some of the apps there, and I've used, I think 4 of these, just in different ways, different times, and I've actually liked all of them. And it really, again, it's individualized as to what you like, what you can handle, or what your child or the individual in your life can handle on there, and it's not too overwhelming. Because as with all apps, it can become too much. And so it might be that you need to try some of them out before you show them to the individual you're trying to use the schedules with, or even with yourself, if that's an app you want to use. And then I also listed some online resources for schedules. And these 3 listed here are just some of the ones that I found the most helpful. One of them, the Teachers Pay Teachers, that is one where you do actually have to pay a little bit to download some schedules, but I don't think most of them were not over $5 for a download. Many of them were $2.99 and $3.99. And then I think it's the very last one where it says free printable visual schedules for home and daily routine. All of that's free on that last link. And I looked at that too, and that has many schedules that would be helpful for any level of understanding of schedules, whether they can read or they need pictures or whatever it may be. And you can always go in there and look at someone else's idea and then kind of pick and choose and design your own. And anytime you were to print something, you don't have to use everything that they've put there as well. You get to make it so that it fits your family's needs and the individual person that you're trying to help adhere to a schedule or learn a schedule. And then the good housekeeping, the first one was on a parenting page, and it had I thought, some good pictures and good examples. And those were the 3 that I found that were the most helpful. And I wanted to give some links so you could see some example schedules. I had thought about coming up with some example schedules, but these 3 sites had such great ideas that I didn't want to kind of reinvent the wheel. I did want to say that they present them in different ways. So you can do things by a list, or you can do things by activities, like we mentioned earlier, quiet time, independent play. Some people will do them in a list, actually listed on a piece of paper, or in the app. Sometimes you can even do it like a pie chart as well. So almost like a pizza, and each piece of the pizza is either disappearing or appearing as they're completing it. And again, that just depends on what you think your child would like. Would they like to see the pizza completed, or would they like to think that they've eaten all the pizza? or a big cookie cake, or whatever it may be, that would be exciting. It doesn't just have to be a boring list on a piece of paper. It could be a little bit more intriguing. And that was all that I have for that.